the game.
Hi, I'm Kelsa Dickey, the CEO of the Financial Coach Academy and my financial coaching business, Fiscal Fitness Phoenix. My coaching journey began more than a decade ago with me helping people for free from my dining room table. What was once a little business of mine has grown into a 7-figure company that employs a team of people. My goal is simple, to help you fall more and more in love with financial coaching. I believe financial coaching is the most rewarding way to make a living. If you are an aspiring financial coach or have been coaching for years, I'm here to help you create a business you love that gets your clients massive results. Let's get to it. Hey coaches, I am so thrilled to bring to you this interview with an amazing financial coaching couple that has found success in their own unique way, and they are here to tell us all about it. This is our final part of our Success Stories series, where I have the honor of letting other financial coaches share their journeys with you. My goal is to help you fall in love with financial coaching, and I hope these stories help to inspire you to do just that. Most importantly, I want you to see that financial coaching is both possible for you and it can be totally unique, meaning there's no one right way to change people's lives with this work. Before I introduce my guest for today, I would love to invite you to join me and other coaches each month on our virtual meetup for financial coaches just like you. The third Wednesday of each month, we host a get-together via Zoom, so it's easy to join from wherever you're at. You get to meet and engage with others just like the coaches who are part of this Success Stories series. Surrounding yourself with others on this path, whether they're leaps and bounds ahead of you or not quite where you're at, is fun, inspiring, and rewarding. And it's totally free and open to everyone. Go to financialcoachacademy.com/subscribe, add your name and email address, and each month we send out the details so that you can join the call. We would love to see you there, and I am confident that you will both be inspired and be inspiring to others. Without any further delay, please let me introduce Haley and Justin Brown-Woods, a husband and wife duo. Haley and Justin are a married millennial couple that began their debt-free journey in the fall of 2019. After blowing through, this is so hard to read because it makes my heart beat really fast. After blowing through a $600,000 lawsuit payout and racking up over $220,000 worth of debt in 3.5 years, Haley and Justin got serious about changing the narrative they had created for their lives. Within 18 months, they had paid off over $132,000 of debt and restarted their wealth journey. During this period, they began their podcast, Price of Avocado Toast, which is an amazing podcast. I'd love to invite you guys to check it out. Their focus has been on having open and honest money conversations with others to help remove the stigma and shame around finances. In 2021, Haley began the financial coaching branch of Price of Avocado Toast. She brought Justin onto the team in 2023, and together they have helped clients tackle over $2.5 million of debt. Now their family is working towards generational wealth building and a future of outrageous generosity. I love that transformation. So incredible. Thank you so much for joining me, Haley and Justin. Let's start by sharing a little bit more about yourselves, a little bit more about your background. I know you shared quite a bit in that bio, but what else would you like to share with everybody?
Well, first off, Kelsey, thank you so much for having us on your podcast. Your podcast is one of our favorites to listen to every week, so it's an honor to be here. A little bit about us. Well, we're parents. We have 3 very, very young kids. At the time of recording, we have a 4.5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. So that's a big, important thing about us. We are both former elementary school educators. We are natural coaches. We spent a lot of our background coaching sports. So then the flow into financial coaching kind of just felt like a natural flow because we are coaches. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's a lot of who we are outside of work. And I have a hard time answering that question sometimes because I immediately just go into, I am a financial coach. I tried to not go there.
Okay, what sports did you guys coach?
Swimming.
And I still coach high school football.
Yes, that's true. Yes, that's great. You know, Michael is a little football coach, but like peewee football coach. Like we're just hoping the kids all run in the right direction on the field at this age. Okay, yes. Justin, just so you know, they're not learning passing plays or anything yet. Anything you want to add, Justin?
No, I'd say Haley summed it up pretty well. You know, we're in this season of life where we get to be the parents we want to be, the partner we want to be to one another, the coach we want to be for our clients. And we're just in a really fun season of life right now. Mm-hmm. It's wild and it's bananas every day, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I think that actually leads to my next question, which is how do you define success today in business? So I'm sure a lot of it has to do with family time and time for each other and also time for your clients. But why don't you elaborate a little bit on that?
Success for us right now in our business is being able to spend time with our kids at home. And as we are recording this, we are 1 week away from no longer having kids that are preschool age. Our daughter goes to school next week for the first time. So up until now, we've had 3 young kids at home with us the whole entire time while also running the business. And being able to pour into the family time like we have been has been the biggest gift. And that to us is the most successful part of what we're doing right now.
I love that.
Yeah, I would say beyond that, just as you know, as a financial coach, and as those listening know, we're part of some really big moments in a client's life. And success for them also does selfishly sometimes feel like success for us. And that can feel really good to feel like we've been able to walk alongside somebody while they're tackling debt or maybe saving up for their first home purchase. And so we get these little dopamine drops of success every time a client has, a step on their journey that puts them forward as well. And so there's so many other things we could say that are a success as well, that maybe don't totally resonate in our lives, but are, the byproduct of a client having a win.
Yeah, I totally agree. I would love to have you guys share a little bit more about your current business model. So who do you primarily serve? So do you have a niche? How do you guys set things up? Is it one-to-one coaching? Is there a group program? And I know a lot of the questions coaches will probably have, since you're a coaching duo, do you coach together in the same session? Do you each have your individual clients? How do you set that part up?
So I'll talk about the niche, and then why don't you talk about the structure?
Sure, I love that.
Okay, so we work with millennials. We work with a lot of millennial parents that resemble us. So they've got young kids and they're really just trying to be adults for the first time. They're like, okay, I'm making the most money I've ever made. I have these kids I have to keep alive alongside myself. How do I do that and manage my money? So that's primarily who we are working with. And our clients have a substantial amount of debt. They really do resemble us a few years ago when we were freshly married with young kids and very much in a lot of debt.
As far as the programs that we're currently, offering, we have a one-to-one coaching program. It's about 6 months. And then we also built a 14-month program because we found a lot of clients wanted to go through this kind of yearly cycle with us to make sure that they hit all of these big, yearly milestones that come around. And that has been really successful as well. We also really enjoy that because we get to be a part of the journey a little bit longer. And it feels like we can get some momentum and get some traction and really get rolling. We are currently also working on group stuff. We don't have anything set yet, but we are excited to continue to provide accessibility for others. As far as coaching together, we don't really, and it's fascinating. I think that a lot of people, would consider that maybe a couple would coach couples together, but we have found that some couples have different needs and different maybe financial hangups of where Haley might be really successful or I might be really successful. And so as we're going through this application and kind of consultation process with the client, we kind of feel that out of, hey, do they really need maybe a vulnerable guy like me to help maybe get a male partner to come along and really, listen to their partner's needs? Or do they need somebody like Haley that's really organizationally strong and is, kind of our lead coach who's been doing this longer and is really, really talented, I think is what she does. We're able to kind of feel what the couple needs. Now, of course, we do have group meetings for all of our current clients. So I'll get to meet her clients as well and maybe bounce some ideas. But as far as coaching together, no, we are strictly kind of one coach for the couple or for the person that we're meeting with at the time.
Very cool. We're going to come back to the 14-month program in just a minute because I do want to touch on that in a second. But I'm curious what your current marketing strategy is. How do most of your clients find you? Does it primarily come from your podcast, or what are some other avenues that you've uncovered for your client acquisition?
Our primary client acquisition comes from social media and specifically Instagram. And we have our podcast, which is very successful. And I thought people were coming from the podcast. And then I actually, on our coaching application, added in a question like, where did you actually come from? Not like, where did you first hear about us, but where did you get the, yes, I need coaching and this is where I'm going to go. And it is primarily Instagram. And as we just passed the 3-year anniversary of our business, so as we grow, it's more and more and more word of mouth with time.
Absolutely. Do people on Instagram find you from your podcast? So is the podcast sort of the top of the funnel, or is Instagram the top of the funnel? Do you know?
I honestly couldn't tell you. I think it goes very much back and forth.
Sure.
Instagram followers will then go to the podcast, or they found the podcast and then they go follow our social media.
Yeah.
But I do rarely get clients who do not follow our social media and only listen to the podcast. And that is always a very interesting thing, because I'm like, oh, you don't know, you really only know the voice.
Yeah.
You don't know the dancing, the silly weirdness.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys definitely share a lot of like your just personal everyday life and quirkiness and all of that on your Instagram, which I love. So yeah, that makes sense that they aren't getting that if they're not following you on Instagram. How would you describe your pricing strategy? Are you trying to be, a high-end offer? Are you trying to be middle of the road? Are you trying to be like sort of low ticket, high volume? So just what is the mindset behind it for you guys?
Our pricing is on the lower end, and that is primarily just because the people that we are working with are in such a substantial amount of debt. And a lot of our clients have to put coaching on a credit card initially. And this was a mindset thing that I really had to work through when I first started coaching, because it didn't feel right to have someone go into debt to get out of debt. But then once I really worked through my business and I saw the success on the level that these clients were experiencing, I can guarantee that pays itself off when you get to move the coaching off of the credit card. And then in 6 months, you're not using your credit card at all. And then in 1 year, you've paid off $10,000 of your debt. I can really see the process now. So that's not as much of a mindset block for us, but we want to remain accessible while also feeling like we're fairly compensated.
Yeah, it's perfect.
I do. People have to feel uncomfortable when investing in something if they're going to take it seriously. So we've had to test out the waters with like, what is that number? What does that feel like for our clients? And if they're not bought in on the price, they're not going to take it seriously.
Yeah, very true. Very good. Yeah, I love that. I think that's very good. I'm curious if you can think back to when you first started. So specifically for you, Haley, and then Justin, I'll add in for you in just a second. But sort of pre-FCA, those early days, what were some of the initial challenges that you were facing in your financial coaching business? And then I'm curious, Justin, if you saw her experiencing those, like how involved in the business were you at the time? And then I'm curious for you, you came on board later, so she had already kind of gone through some of the initial growing pains, but did you experience some of those same things, even though, she had already paved the way a little bit, but you were like, nope, I got to go through them too because it's a rite of passage? Or did you sort of experience your own unique challenges when you first came on board? So Haley, why don't you start?
Okay, so pre-FCA is a very, very short period of time, because that was the first thing I did. I signed up for Financial Coach Academy, and I signed up for Financial Coach Academy and got the ball rolling, and that's basically it. But one of the biggest blocks, the things that I struggled with very, very early on, was that imposter syndrome. Like when you were reading our bio, if you didn't know us, we came from so much debt and so many financial mess ups, one after another, which is what our entire brand has been founded on. And the transparency of okay, we messed up, we grew, and here's where we are now. I struggled with okay, we've made so many financial mistakes. How am I going to help someone on their financial journey when I didn't even know what I was doing? So that imposter syndrome was really loud initially, and he helped me out with that.
Yeah. How did you help her? Do you remember that? Justin, what was your take on that time?
Yeah, I just, I'm always impressed by Haley. I think that Haley is such a brilliant human being. And when she puts her mind to something, she really dives in full steam. And hearing her have those internal battles really kind of, did make me pause, wait a minute, I've seen you do incredible things. And I'm also, like Haley said, we're both former educators. And so I believe that if you're going out and seeking out education like Haley did by joining FCA, then you're qualifying yourself right there by saying, I'm going to find somebody who's doing this in the way that I want to do it, with the value system that I believe in, and I'm going to get the training that I'm looking for, the education I'm looking for, so that I can support and serve others. You had a really good episode recently too, Kelsa, that I think summed it up super well. When you're talking about how coaches don't have to know everything at the drop of a hat when the client asks. What's important is that a coach has a willingness to explore that alongside their client, and a willingness and, self-assurance to say, I'm actually not sure of that answer. Let's do that work together. Let's figure that out. Because so often the people that we're working with are just looking for a soundboard and a conversation to help explore and figure out those things. They're not, and actually we shouldn't be giving clear-cut answers for somebody. We should be helping them discover whatever they're looking for. And I think, just seeing Haley go through the FCA process, and then, the little things really, you call people coach. That's how you approach people. And so I'm thinking, Haley, you're talking to somebody who's already identifying you as a coach. You shouldn't be the one holding you back, right? You shouldn't be the one holding you back from any type of greatness. And so I would say just kind of seeing her sit in those communities a little bit more naturally got her out of that imposter syndrome. As far as for me joining the coaching profession and seeing what it looked like starting as somebody who's, working under a coach who's already doing it in a great way, it was a comparison issue for me. I was constantly like, I need to be the next male Haley. I need to serve just as Haley's serving. I need to be on my game because this is, a business that Haley's built, and I need to be just like Haley. And it took a little bit of time for me to be like, wait a minute, but I'm not just like Haley. I'm a totally different coach. There's so many different things about me that I do really, really well that Haley has asked for support on. And there's things that I need support on that Haley does really, really well. And getting out of that kind of mind frame of, well, we're all the same coach. That was really where I needed to get to. And I think now I'm getting to that point where I'm finding confidence in my own coaching voice that is part of the business price of avocado toast, right? That is under the same umbrella, but is a totally different client experience at times.
Yes.
That was my internal struggle, was comparing myself to, my amazing life.
Yes. And my mind is racing. It's such a good point of all the instances we've had growing a coaching team where whoever the new coach is really struggles with comparisonitis towards me or towards Jill or towards Jacqueline and that kind of thing. And it's almost can be hindering sometimes. Like here you have these experts you can rely on and lean on and go to for input and insights and all of that really great guidance. And also it can actually be stifling sometimes for someone's growth if they're not careful because they're not finding their own way, and it really can be a comparisonized thing. That's such a good point. I'm like, my mind is racing with all of these examples of when that's happened. So thank you for offering that up. How were you defining success, Haley, back in the day? So like when you first started your business, I always give the story of like, when I first started, I just wanted to make $2,000 a month. That was my goal. If I could make $2,000 a month, I thought it would be like success, right? I'm curious if you had something like that when you first started. Like what was most important to you when you started your business?
Okay, so it has totally evolved over time. So I'll go back to like the beginning. In the beginning, having like 10 clients was like, whoa, that was it. And then making my teaching take-home salary, which at the time I was a teacher in California, and I think was it like $3,500?
It's about $3,500. Yeah.
So consistently hitting my teacher take-home salary outside of the classroom was like, whoa. That
monumental.
Was major success. Then once I started making more money than my teacher salary, that felt really cool too. So initially in the early stages, it was very much like numbers based. How many clients I could have, how much money I could have. That was the success. And then it formed into how much debt could my clients pay off. Again, a number. I am an Enneagram 3. I love numbers and stats. So that's very much how my brain functions. So that was totally a success. It has shifted because I don't desire to have 100 clients now. Now I'm like, okay, whoa. We don't want that.
Yeah.
But initially it was very much like, how many clients can I acquire? How much money can I make? And getting to that point was really cool. Making more money than my teaching salary that felt like so much money.
Like I made it.
That was so cool. Yes, I made it. And I knew that at that point, this was going to be sustainable. And that's when this is really important for anybody listening who is at a point where they're like, okay, I'm starting my business and I'm also working at my other full-time job at the same time. you're half in, half out, and there's nothing wrong with that. We have to make sure that we're not making irresponsible decisions to jump off of a cliff when you're not ready financially, right? But when I hit that number, that's when I mentally checked out of I'm going to possibly go back to teaching someday. It was like, oh, well, I don't have to have the plan B in my head all the time. This can actually work, and I'm going to make it work. And I took that and put it away, and then things just exploded in the best way possible. Yeah. But getting out of that mindset of like, well, I need to have plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G if things fail here, really actually was hurting me. It was keeping me from taking risks and raising my rates and doing things that felt uncomfortable, but are necessary in regards to building and growing a business.
100%. Yes, I totally get that. Anything you want to add, Justin?
No, I think she hit it on the head. I remember I was still teaching, and it was a really proud, month when she's like, I'm to the point now where I've replaced that teaching salary, and she was able to be home with our kids, and it was like awesome. It was just the coolest thing. Just to be proud of my wife as well for building a business. Like I was like, this is really cool that you're an entrepreneur now and what you're doing. And then 2 short years later, she's like, hey, you're leaving too, champ. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's so similar. You guys remind me of Michael and I in so many ways. I think I've told you that plenty of times, but he, since day one, was my biggest cheerleader. He never doubted me. He always believed that I could do this. I remember having that plan B, plan C for if I fail, here's what we'll do. Don't worry, it'll be okay. And he was like, I'm not worried. He was never worried. He just like, you'll do it. It'll be fine kind of thing. And so thank you so much, Justin, for believing in your wife. I think that's so incredible. And then, later Michael coming on board too, because I was like, okay, I actually could use some help now sort of thing. So let's talk about that, Justin, for you, the scaling aspect, because that's essentially was the scaling phase, right? And you were the solution. And I'm curious what that was like for you.
It was nerve-wracking at first, actually, because I tie a lot of my identity into being an educator. I thought I was a really good teacher. And I still think I'm a really good teacher. And it was really nerve-wracking to think that we were going to take this leap into entrepreneurship. I'm very much so the safe one in our relationship. When it comes to like security and like taking risks, I can look at Haley and say, oh, she's, anything Haley does, she just crushes. So I'm like, yeah, you go for it. Like, you're awesome. But when she's like, okay, now you have to come do this too. I'm like, wait. Like I need the boat. The saying is I need the boat like cemented to the dock. I need everybody to sell tickets to the show before I get off the boat. Like I need this thing as safe as possible. And so it was really scary to take that leap into entrepreneurship. But it's also really exciting when you think that if this, for whatever reason didn't work, right? I think of the early days. If it doesn't work, I get to go back and be a teacher, which was something I really love to do. And so right now I really love to be a financial coach, and I get to do this, and that's pretty cool. And so it's been a cool journey to get to that space versus being so worried about all of the what ifs. I think, again, that's kind of my own imposter syndrome as well, sneaking in of being like, I can't do this. I'm not an entrepreneur. I don't know anything about business and sales and creating offers that people are craving. I didn't have any background in that. I had a background in teaching kids how to read. So it's an interesting dynamic to change like that, but it's been fun.
And remind me, Justin, Haley. Oh no, go ahead, Haley. Go ahead.
I want to mention something really fast because I totally was like, Justin, you need to come be a financial coach. You need to do this. You need to do this. And he was like, yeah, whatever. He just wasn't bought into the idea of this working full time with both of us because he hadn't stepped into that being a business owner, entrepreneurial like lens of life. And I need to share this quick story really fast, but we moved away from where we live currently. When we were on our debt-free journey, we actually sold our house and moved to a lower cost of living area. And then we were there for a couple of years, and his mom passed away unexpectedly. And during that grieving process, we decided to move back here. And that was an extreme expense increase, coming back to the high cost of living area and taking that risk. But now I was self-employed, and I was sitting there in such a like stage of, I don't know if we can do this, Justin. This is going to be so much money. I don't know if we can afford to live here while you're teaching and I'm running a business. Like, this is just going to be too much money. And he came home one day and he said, you know what? I think we need to do this, and I want to come coach with you. Immediately, I switched. I was like, oh, we've got this. Because I was in the mindset of that, like, if we're both building this, we can take it to the moon. But if it's just me, I can only go so far.
Right.
And if you're a teacher, you can only make so much money. And then we'll just be kind of stuck there because we don't have the room and the ability to scale. But with two of us, all of a sudden, I was like, okay, game over. We've got this. And we've got it. We're good to go.
Fascinating. I did not know that that was part of the story. I mean, Justin literally financial coached the family through that decision right then,
Yes,
right? And then became a financial
100%.
coach, which makes total sense, which is awesome. You guys are a great team. Okay, I'm curious. I want to touch back on the 14-month coaching program because I do think that this is super unique. And so can you share a little bit about why 14 months? How did you come up with that idea? What need did you see in your clients? And you touched on it briefly, but let's explore that a little bit more.
Yes, definitely. So initially when I first started my coaching, I just did a 6-month program. It was simple where I met with everybody twice a month for 6 months. It was either twice a month or every other week, however it kind of fit in their schedule. And then what I found was that at the end of 6 months, people weren't ready to fly solo. And that was at no fault for what they're doing or me as a coach, but they simply needed more support. Like I said, initially, our clients were in such a substantial amount of debt. I was finding that it was literally 4 or 5 months until people were like moving forward with good momentum on their path with whatever their action plan was. We had so much to do with like breaking the cycles that they were in and the true habit change that it was going to take a long time. So that was my initial like, okay, maybe I needed to add on some sort of ongoing coaching option. And I am a member of the Financial Coaching Mastermind. And so I've done some talking with you and other coaches as well. And so I implemented on some options for ongoing coaching where I can meet with people just once a month or every other month or quarterly. And then last year in 2023, I did an audit of all of my clients. And I realized my clients were hanging out for about a year and a half because I knew that I'd had these people on an original 6-month plan and that ended a long time ago. So I went and I'm like, wait, how long are they really hanging out? And then I really dove into like, what was the flow that people were signing up for? They were doing the initial 6 months, twice a month. And then they would go down to meeting once a month for like anywhere from 3 to 6 months. And then they would go down to either meeting every other month or quarterly. And then they would just kind of chill there for a while because if it was working, why would they stop? I have this level of accountability. Why would I end this right now? So that was initially where I started thinking, okay, people are already on a long journey. Maybe I could take what we're doing and make it a little more financially accessible on a monthly basis, but they get to hang out longer. Mm-hmm. So we, on a monthly level, took the income actually down. So a little context, our current plan right now is $297
for the 14 month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So $297 a month for 12 months. They do a 12-month payment plan. But if you sign up for our 6-month plan now, the price is close to $400 a month. So it made things cheaper initially, but it stretched things out. So toward the end of their 14-month plan, I guess I should touch on that. So the 14-month plan is now structured 6 months where we meet twice a month, and then 4 months where we meet once a month, and then they go down to every other month for the remaining portion. And instead of my income dipping at all, it stays consistent the entire year. Mm-hmm. So we get more money for a whole entire year, but it's less on a monthly basis. And then towards the end, when they've already tapered down to meeting once a month or every other month, we're still making the same amount of money and we can take on more clients. So it was a very much a strategic business decision for our own consistent income, but also making what we're doing a little more accessible because that was the natural flow that quite literally like 80% of our clients were going through anyway. And I want to mention, I thought, who's going to commit to 14 months? That is such a long time. Who wants to commit to a 12-month payment plan of something that's a big financial commitment. And it has been knocked out of the water with my expectations. People actually see, oh, I actually know I have a lot of debt and I know that this is going to take a while. And this plan makes me feel like I'm going to have support through my whole journey. And I'm not just going to go through a little bit of coaching and fly on my own and be hoping I don't sink, but instead I have the hand holding the entire time. So that's kind of the evolution of it all.
Yeah. I can't remember if it was in the mastermind or if it was during the Client Creator Challenge, like at the timing of it, when there was a moment where you were like, I can't believe it, but someone else just said yes to the 14-month. Like it was like one after another. And it was like right when you first launched it and you were having that same doubt that you just expressed, but you were like, I don't know, I'm seeing this need, but I don't really know if people are going to say yes to it kind of thing. And it was like one after another. And it was like, everybody was celebrating. It was so exciting just to kind of like see that successful rollout. So, and Justin, I'm assuming you have your clients do the same thing, right? So you guys have the same offerings for both of your clients.
Yep. And through your mentorship, kind of in coaching Haley as a business leader, of that, hey, there's a new coach coming on board. Obviously he's probably going to start to take on some of the clients and there might be a dip as you start to grow and see these things change, because we were like, with Justin coming on, what is this going to look like with, new clients and onboarding and whatnot? I think within the months of the Client Creator Challenge, I had maybe 6 or 7 new clients and 6 of them were 14-month programs.
Yes.
And it was like, wait a minute, right at the start of the new year, you're like, holy smokes, like I'll be with y'all till Christmas. I'll see you next year. Like it was absolutely wild how many people are like, yep, we're in for the 14-month.
Yeah. And doesn't it feel so good knowing that you have time with your clients you don't feel rushed. You feel like you can really explore things more in depth. And yeah, I think it just feels so great. And then also looking ahead for you guys, you're like, okay, we've got some stability here. We've got a runway that we can point to, sort of thing. It takes the sense of urgency, the pressure, all of that off, which I think is so good too. I wanted to circle back on something and I want to be respectful of your time. I know you guys have a hard cutoff. I'm curious, I can't remember, Justin, when you came on board, did you go into the Financial Coach Academy? I feel like you did, but I can't remember. I think Haley was already enrolled and then you were like, hey, I'm going to tap into it kind of thing. And I'm curious what that was like for you.
Yeah, I had started to tap into a lot of it that was not business building related, right? There was more so like the coaching practices and like figuring those things out. And then Haley and I would just have conversations of like, how does this activity, relate to who we are as coaches and some of my different skills and stuff. I like to think that I'm a really, emotionally in touch man. And so, it's been cool doing some of those activities and finding ways to tweak it from a male perspective and like a male voice. But yeah, that's how it's been so far. It's just kind of like dipping my toes into the coaching aspects of FCA rather than like the business structure. Cause that was the coolest thing about FCA when Haley was going through it was like, she'd walk out after doing a 3-hour session of like learning and she'd be like, hey, like the business is like now basically set up. Like it's ready to go. And I was like, wow, that's really fast. Like that's impressive. So that was, kind of my experience with it was I didn't have to build a business from the ground up. I got to just kind of step in and become a better coach.
Yeah, I hope that it brought continuity to what you guys offer, cohesiveness to what you offer, so that whether one of your clients is working with Haley or working with Justin, it's like there is some foundation there of philosophies and principles and that sort of thing, because you not only learned something from the same program, but then you talked about it and you had conversations about how this works for us and how we've made this, applied this framework into our business. And I love that was an opportunity for you guys. So I just wanted to touch on that really quickly. I just want to ask one more question. What piece of advice do you have for somebody who's just starting out in their financial coaching business?
Oh man, just do it. That's basically it. Just do something to move the needle forward. Whether that means just telling people you're a financial coach and trying to embody that, or starting to meet with people and talk with people. But you're going to feel super uncomfortable and sit in that imposter syndrome for a very long time unless you do something about making forward movement in your creation of the business. And it's hard. That mental block piece is really, really hard, but it is so worth it once you're over the hump. So you got to just get started though.
Yeah. I would say just consume content of people that are doing it, right? Like your weekly podcast has been really great to tie in themes that we've seen through the Financial Coach Mastermind and being in the Financial Coach Unite group, like having those kind of nurture opportunities that are totally free value learning. It's like just wild, the little things you can pick up from moment to moment, even in your show, that provide value for a client, 3 hours later when you meet with them. It's really convenient. Modern social media and modern, internet connections have made that possible. So that's what I would say is consume content of people doing what you want to do, because you'll probably get a ton of free value.
Yeah, I totally agree. Thank you so much. This was so wonderful. I wish we had even more time to talk about your journey and your business and what you've got in store. Thank you so much, Haley and Justin, for taking the time to be with me today and for the positive impact that you are having on people's lives through your work. I really appreciate you trusting me to be a part of your financial coaching journey. So thank you very much. For everybody else listening, we will be back next week with a brand new episode. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, and we will see you next week, Coach. I believe financial coaching is the best and most rewarding way to make a living. I truly love what I do. If you're ready to learn and see how to become a profitable, successful financial coach, check us out at financialcoachacademy.com to learn more about our online courses, free trainings, and events. As always, I love hearing from you. If you have any questions for the FCA podcast or to share your thoughts on the reflection question from today's episode, go to financialcoachacademy.com/podcast. And if you love this podcast, hit the thumbs up button on today's episode, subscribe, and leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. It would mean the world to me. I'll see you next week, Coach.